Thank you all for coming tonight. I think maybe most of you remember our guest composer, Christopher Stamacher, who conducted the KGS in our search and did a spectacular performance at the Grand Canyon Suite. And he is a wonderful composer. I was lucky to have them in my home when they were here for that evening, and it's been a wonderful friendship ever since. And Christopher has returned many times, and lucky me, every time he comes, he brings me new compositions and new recordings of his works. And when he came last Christmas, he brought this beautiful piece with clarinet and symphony orchestra called Pink Ribbon for Susan. It was beautiful, and of course my first thought was, Jill. I immediately sent it over to her and said, what do you think? She wrote back, it's beautiful, and I asked Christopher if he had a piano clarinet arrangement, which I knew he would, and so tonight we have it on our program. So with that, also, we contacted the national organization of the Pink Ribbon people and sent them the recording. And they're now thinking of ways that they can use it in their documentaries, in their educational films, so that it's always going to be there and used for the purpose for which it was meant. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Christopher Stamacher, our friend.
It's a great pleasure to be here. I can't wait to see those of you who I've had the chance to work with out in the audience. This is the Illinois premiere, so I was very excited when Jill and Nancy asked me about performing this piece here, and they asked that if I would be able to come. It worked perfectly in my schedule. It was written for a friend of mine named Chris Hill, who is the principal clarinetist for the South Dakota Symphony Orchestra in Sioux Falls. And he specifically asked me to write it for a fundraiser that they were having in honor of his wife, Susan Hill, who had this battle with breast cancer. And so the orchestra performed a whole evening of music, and this was the culminating piece on that program. I wanted a piece, and he asked me to write a piece that was optimistic and celebrates Susan's fight with cancer and her battle over cancer. And so it was premiered with the South Dakota Symphony Orchestra, and it was a great success. I was very happy with it. I know that Chris and Susan loved the piece, and so later on I was asked to arrange it for concert band, and it was one of those weird things where I wrote it for orchestra originally, and I didn't write it for piano, and that's usually backwards. So I just I was asked if I would write it for piano at that point because you needed kind of a piano transcription of the music, and so I went back, and the performance that you will hear tonight is a performance of that arrangement. Susan worked, and she worked up until the very last week of her life. She loved everything that she did, and she made everything sort of like fun. When she would go to get her chemotherapy treatments, she would decorate her poles, and you can find these online still, pictures on her husband's Facebook page where she had things her pole dressed up like a safari animal, or like characters from Star Wars or Sesame Street. Each time that she went in, she's like, I'm not going to like make this like a sad moment. This is going to be something fun, and I'm going to mock this and make it a happy moment for me. So anyway, that's what I tried to get across in this piece of music that you'll hear. You can find this on YouTube, and over the years I have been approached by different people who found it very uplifting and found a personal message in it for them as well. So even though it's pink ribbon for Susan, it really is pink ribbon for anyone who needs it. We have all been touched by someone fighting this battle with breast cancer, and maybe it's even you in the audience. This piece is for everyone that has battled with this wretched disease, and that you find beauty and love in your life, and that this piece gives you comfort as well. I asked Chris if he would say a few words that I could share with you tonight, and so he sent me a text, and I'll read this to you. We played this piece many times, and maybe the most memorable time, the way that you'll hear tonight, I played at the piano with Chris at the clarinet, and it was in the foyer of the cancer center at Avera Hospital in Sioux Falls when she was getting one of her treatments. And it's an open foyer where there's a balcony, and the patients who are there can hear the music up through the foyer up into the balcony. And so she was there at the top of the balcony and listening and waving even. And that was one of the most moving performances that I had of this piece. She passed away when she was 43 years old in 2017, but she never let cancer define her, even to the very last day. So this is what Chris told me for our audience tonight. Susan loved Pink Ribbon and saw it as a depiction of our life together. She said that the fun interplay between the piano, her, and the clarinet, me, showed the happiness we had as we were getting to know each other. The more dissonant middle section made her think of the cancer battle, and the ending depicted her triumph over the cancer, because no matter if she lived through it or died from it, she would win either here on earth or in heaven. So I hope that the piece will mean something special for you as it does for me, and it's a great